All right, time to break down some injury news and stuff like that from yesterday. Are we on YouTube Live right now? Do anybody know? Yeah, we are on YouTube Live. So what's up, all the YouTube Live people? We go down to the A and we bring in my man, Dr. A. Doc, what's going on? InsideInjuries.com, the Inside Injuries app. How you doing on this Overreaction Monday, Doc?
Lots of injuries from Sunday. I can't remember a Sunday during the NFL season where we have had an unbelievable amount of injuries. Typically in the middle part of the season, you start to get sort of the peak of the injury numbers, but for some reason this weekend it's an abnormally high number of players, unfortunately.
All
And by
right.
the way, look at the ATL behind me. It's completely raining and not sunny, so not a good place to visit right now, Corey.
It's a bad day, but Doc, when I come, I always bring sunshine, Doc. I know how to party inside too, Doc. All right, so let's get ready to get this started. Let's start with
Yeah.
Carson Palmer. If I'm not mistaken, he breaks his arm yesterday. That's got to suck.
Yeah, I mean, very eloquently put as usual, but unfortunately, he was holding his wrist at the end of that play, so it could be a forearm fracture. We're not 100% sure. Generalized arm fracture. Believe it or not, though, thank God this is a non-throwing arm. So, if it's a non-displaced fracture, it heals in 6 weeks, gets a cast on it. I mean, theoretically, Carson Palmer could be available in like 6 to 8 weeks because it's not the throwing arm, But right now, obviously, MRI and further testing is needed to determine exactly what the longevity of this healing process is going to be. But because it's not his throwing arm, theoretically, our optimal recovery time says 6 weeks.
6 weeks. What you got, Matt Matika?
Hey, Doc, good morning. Let's go
Morning.
to the running back position here with Leonard Fournette. They didn't have him active yesterday. They have the bye. What's the outlook for rest of season?
So now it's really, really good. We talked about this last week. Leonard Fournette, even though he was elevated before the season started, we really thought we were really concerned about his sort of longevity through the season of staying healthy. As you recall last week, we said that grade 2 ankle sprain with all of his previous ankle sprains needed a 4-week optimal recovery time. Well, he sort of, through his second week, now he has a bye, so he'll rest 3 weeks and come back the following week, and that would sort of right around the optimal recovery time at 4 weeks. And so even though he's at high injury risk right now, he is going to start to improve because he is resting. And so, by the time he goes and gets into a game, he likely will be back to elevated and very close to that low injury risk threshold. So this is good news for Leonard Fournette.
Talking with Dr. A, InsideInjuries.com. Inside Injuries is the app. Doc, what's up? My man Delaney Walker, I heard that after the game he was wearing a walking boot. Do you know anything about this?
Grade 2 ankle sprain is what we're calling it. He was, last week he had a grade 2 calf injury. And, like you said, like I've said all along, you have, sort of adjacent injuries that start to occur when you start playing through existing injuries. And one of these things, grade 2 calf, now a grade 2 ankle, with a few other injuries in his past. The worst thing I saw is that he couldn't put weight on his leg leaving the field, which is not really, a really good sign. And so grade 2 ankle sprain is 3 weeks. He was high injury risk even before the season started. So if people listen to us, they did not draft him and make sure they had solid backups on a tight end position. So even though this is 3 weeks optimal recovery time, he's still going to be high injury risk for the whole season as he was even before the season started.
Hey, Doc, I know we still haven't wrapped up Week 7 officially, but looking at Week 8, a guy like Golden Tate, he had the bye this past weekend. I'd heard multiple weeks for him to be out, so any chance?
Come on, give me some good news, Doc.
So grade 3 shoulder injury. Corey, I didn't give you good news on Golden Tate last week, so it's not much is going to change this week, unfortunately. He's at high injury risk at 39% right now. This is in our opinion, this is a 7-week optimal recovery time. Injured in week 6, had an arm in a sling, so he's got 6 to 7. 7 to 8, and then he still, in our opinion, has 4 to 5 weeks after that. So he is going to be at high injury risk, basically, if he does start after that in about 2 weeks. was elevated and below average before the season started. This one we saw coming because of all of the previous stuff that he's been through, as well as all of the different stuff the algorithm comes up with. So, yes, at least 4 or 5 more weeks after the bye is what we're saying.
Oh boy, Doc, that is not good news. But that sucks. Kind of killed my spirit, to be honest with you, Dr. A.
Sorry,
Hate to be the bearer. Dr. A hates to be the bearer of bad news. Dr. A.
The doctor is always the bad news guy. It's whether it's fantasy or real life, we're always talking about negative things, unfortunately. So,
all right, so here we go. Now,
Yeah.
see, players like Joe Thomas, right? They want to keep you out of business. Joe Thomas is a rock. He does not miss games. But we got a situation yesterday. I was shocked when I saw it. Joe Thomas, offensive lineman from the Cleveland Browns, a future Hall of Fame offensive lineman from the Cleveland Browns, laying there on the ground. No, he had some things missed practice last week, but now we might actually see where Joe Thomas may actually miss some game action.
Yeah, it's amazing the streak that he has had. It's just unbelievable. Really, 3 letters: MRI. It'll all depend upon what the MRI shows. If the MRI shows a complete, full thickness and retracted tear of that triceps tendon, his season's over. If it's a partial tear that can heal, we show that the optimum recovery time for this type of injury with offensive linemen to be between 3 and 4 weeks. So it's a huge thing to see, is this thing completely torn or is it partially torn? And that's what will result from the MRI. So we'll have to wait and see.
Hey, Doc, yesterday I wouldn't start him. I didn't put Jameis in my lineups. He went out and threw for almost 400 yards. What should we expect going forward? Is he fully healed? Is there still risk?
Why didn't you put him in the lineup? He was at low injury risk. He upgraded himself to low injury risk to 10%. So he was good to go to start this game, despite the throwing shoulder right AC sprain. So yeah, he was low. He went up to elevated and below average when he initially had the injury, and then he dropped before game time at 10% to low injury risk. So it looked like he healed appropriately. So for us, he's still at low injury risk. He's ready to go. He is ready to go. It could aggravate him here and there, but our algorithm has always said 10% low injury risk. He should be good to go.
So he's locked and loaded. He's got no more bars. That's a good thing.
Speaking of aggravating, Doc, Jay Cutler, did he crack a couple ribs or something like that yesterday?
Jay Cutler throughout his whole career, we could have probably a thesis built on all of the injuries that he's sustained, over his career. He's an injury-prone quarterback. Again, landed hard on his left side. It could be a chest injury, it could be a rib injury, and could be a potential shoulder injury. He's going to get an MRI today. Really, I think he's also going to get a shoulder MRI to make sure that there's no damage there. As you know, he tore his labrum last season with a right shoulder surgery. Optimum recovery time right now, grade 2 rib injury, 3 weeks if it's a non-displaced fracture. But again, he's probably going to come out. It's very difficult for a quarterback to throw the football when he's got pain from a rib fracture. So either they'll have to rest him or they'll have to really pump him up with some pain management. But again, if he gets hit while he's doing that, it's just not good news. And so it requires 3 weeks of recovery time.
Pain management. That's drugs.
Yep.
Yeah, you get a shot, you can pop a pill.
That's what that's called.
Yep.
InsideInjuries.com. Go download the Inside Injuries app every Monday morning. In hour number 2 of the Fantasy Football Frenzy on Overreaction Monday, we get the non-overreaction of Dr. A. Dr. A, thank you very much, my man. Appreciate talking to you. Holler at you a little later on during the week.